Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. Do one thing every day that scares you. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. Bravery is the capacity to perform properly even when scared half to death. Fortune favors the brave. Courage is being scared to death ... and saddling up anyway. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, "I will try again tomorrow." Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. It takes as much courage to have tried and failed as it does to have tried and succeeded. The brave may not live forever, but the cautious do not live at all. Courage is the most important of all the virtues because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. Courage is found in unlikely places. You will never do anything in this world without courage. It is the greatest quality of the mind next to honor. The opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice, it is conformity. Courage is grace under pressure. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. We must build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. One isn't necessarily born with courage, but one is born with potential. Without courage, we cannot practice any other virtue with consistency. Courage is the ladder on which all the other virtues mount. Courage is being the only one who knows how terrified you are. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends. Without courage, wisdom bears no fruit. Courage is knowing what not to fear. True courage is in facing danger when you are afraid. Courage is doing what you are afraid to do. There can be no courage unless you are scared. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. To not dare is to lose oneself. Real courage is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what. He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life. The greatest test of courage on earth is to bear defeat without losing heart. The best way out is always through. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. We must have the courage to bet on our ideas, to take the calculated risk, and to act. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. It is curious that physical courage should be so common in the world and moral courage so rare. To live with fear and not be afraid is the final test of maturity. You can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you cannot choose both. It takes courage to be yourself in a world where you are constantly told you are not enough. Courageous people do not fear forgiving for the sake of peace. Courage is fear that has said its prayers. True courage is about knowing not when to take a life, but when to spare one. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. The real man smiles in trouble, gathers strength from distress, and grows brave by reflection. Have enough courage to trust love one more time and always one more time. Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. Don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. Courage is the art of being the only one who knows you're scared to death. Courage is being yourself every day in a world that tells you to be someone else. You cannot swim for new horizons until you have courage to lose sight of the shore. Don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. Stand up to your obstacles and do something about them. You will find that they haven't half the strength you think they have. Courage is the power to let go of the familiar, leap, and the net will appear. Courage is daring to take the first step or a different path. It is the decision to place your dreams above your fears. Courage is the power to let go of the familiar. Do not be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. Be brave enough to start a conversation that matters. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. You can't be brave if you've only had wonderful things happen to you. Courage doesn't mean you don't get afraid. Courage means you don't let fear stop you. If you want to conquer fear, don't sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy. The most courageous act is still to think for yourself aloud. It takes a lot of courage to show your dreams to someone else. To overcome fear, here's all you have to do. Realize the fear is there and do the action you fear anyway. The way to develop self-confidence is to do the thing you fear and get a record of successful experiences behind you. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. With enough courage, you can do without a reputation. Great occasions do not make heroes or cowards. They simply unveil them to our eyes. There is no living thing that is not afraid when it faces danger. The true courage is in facing danger when you are afraid.